Okay, so there's probably like a million videos on YouTube on how to remove a 1966 Mustang dash pad, as well as the gauge clusters. But what I'm doing is I'm vinyl wrapping my dash. The gauge clusters held on by screws here and there and there. I think it's 6 screws. I got my ashtray out. You just kind of wiggle it out. This, you have to check my other video and I'll show you where the bolts are, but there's 2 bolts, I think catty corner from each other, that hold the temperature controls in. I'm gonna remove my ignition, cigarette lighter, lights are already halfway out, and then my windshield wiper knob. Those all have to come out as well. For the dash pad, there's a screw in here, 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 and here. And then you can just kind of wiggle it and pop it out. So I'm gonna start working on these. Once I can get these popped out, all of this stuff, I can start vinyl wrapping the dash. All right, so I didn't want to show this in time-lapse because it's kind of important. So what I did is the Joann fabric I got, it's naturally 54 inches wide, so from end to end. And I have just enough to where the outside of this layer will tuck in to right here between the dash and the door, so we can get that glued in there. These are cheap Harbor Freight clamps. There's like tons of them. They come in a big bag. They're cheap too. I think they're less than 15 bucks. And so what I've done is I make sure the entire material will stretch across the car. I've clamped it in 4 places. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to get it down underneath here. I wanna make sure it flips up and underneath the dash. So I wanna make sure I get a lot of material. I can always trim more if I need to. And I'm gonna cut it down here because I'm having problems with my steering column getting in the way. So stretch it out, put your clamps on here, make sure it will fit side to side, and then make your cuts. All right, so I've pulled the fabric back down. I have cleaned this all up with some Purple Power. And what we're going to be doing is, this is mangled from whichever previous owner this car has. It's all jacked up, it's bent, it's wavy. They drilled the holes out way too big on the bottom. I don't even think there were supposed to be holes on the bottom. It's time for this thing to go. This hole in this whole radio opening, this is not going to be here anymore. So what I've done, I've taken a paper template, cut it out, measured the holes. I don't think I'm going to use these outside holes because that's where the dash screws into and I don't want a gap, but definitely the inside radio holes. So I've got that right there. It's going to cover up the gap and everything. I bought myself some 16 gauge steel from Lowe's. It's like 8 bucks. Boom. So I'm going to actually cut here just outside the lines and cut this piece of metal out with just an angle grinder, and then we're gonna caulk it in so it doesn't move anymore and adhesive it. I may countersink some holes here, depends on what I have hardware wise in the shop. All right, so as you can see, I mean, cutting it on a cardboard box maybe not be the best idea, but you know, whatever. I just caught it on fire a little bit. But if I had a plasma torch, it'd be a whole lot easier, but I don't. So it's a bit hot, but it got the job done. I got the template. I'm gonna drill out some holes real quick, maybe, I don't know, and we're gonna get it installed. All right, so I've decided not to drill the holes because I don't have any countersunk screws and I really don't want to go back to school or to the store. So what I plan on doing is using the stuff I was going to use to stick to the dash. This is 3M90, and it does metal, and so metal on metal should work. And that way I don't drill holes in this, and it won't the screws won't show through the vinyl. I want this as flat as possible. So we're going to spray this onto here and set it, and hopefully it's nice and secure. All right, so the plate is in with adhesive, nice and solid, and we're about to caulk it in even better. I learned the caulking trick from a vintage Mustang forum member, and so you just basically want to fill it in all the way around. Leave just enough for the holes. So here we go. as you see, it's caulked in. I'm going to clean this up with a towel because I don't need it this low. But basically, you just want a nice, small, smooth pattern across the whole thing to blend the plate in to the rest of the dash. So when the vinyl stretches over it, there's no obvious curves or shapes or anything like that. It's not going to get super stretched over this. It's going to be somewhat loose. And this will allow me to just pop my magnetic phone holder right there and have the phone as the radio from now on. You have Google instructions or anything just up on the phone turned sideways. So I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to clean this up a little bit, and we're going to move on to the vinyl.
All right, so I'm sorry about ending the time lapse. This thing was taking me forever. As you see, I've shut my garage door. It's nighttime. This has been about an 8-hour project, but everything is installed. You can see my phone magnetically mounted to the dash. I gotta get some better magnets, but I just put the gauge back in loosely, but just to make sure everything fits and is covered. So it's back in. That was hard. It was really hard getting it to stretch around and glue and move, and just there's a lot of contours on a classic Mustang. But I'm gonna get my buttons and knobs and put them back in. Hey, there we go. I can maybe tuck some of this material in. For the most part, looks good. There's one slight cut mark here, but I think, again, just shift that over a little bit, tuck that in. You'll never notice. Awesome, it's installed.